So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caroline Logan. I am Programme Director for BuildForce, reporting to you from a very sunny Dorset. Sorry, I've had too long off. My mouth isn't working. And I'm delighted today to take you into our lunch and learn session. So I hope you've got a cup of tea, you're sitting comfortably. So sit back and enjoy. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Caroline, and welcome to the BuildForce Virtual Career Chat. My name is Angela Forbes. So we appreciate that you are on the cusp of leaving the armed forces, trying to move forward when you can't quite see the path ahead. So when you need to go far, you go with others. And BuildForce was set up as our way as the construction industry to give back to you for your service. So the BuildForce team and the industry veteran network that we've created are here to support you. Now, these virtual career chats are to provide a deep dive into the employers and the disciplines to provide that visibility and clarity on what the future could hold for you. So we extend a very warm welcome to Phenna Group this morning and to their team to talk through, as Caroline has said, the testing, inspection, certification and compliance services within the infrastructure space. So today is part 1 of 2. So this will warm you up and allow you to understand that this could be a great career option for you, with so many service leavers able to transition into this space. So we will hand over to Phenna to bring up the presentation. We'll switch our cameras off. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to BuildForce for hosting us. My name is Warwick Nuttall. I'm the Managing Director at Simtech Materials Testing. And we're one business within the infrastructure division of Phenna Group. It's great to be with you, especially those serving, recently transitioned or planning your next move into the construction industry. I won't bore you with too many details about myself. I'll keep it short on that respect. I left the military in early 2021 and I joined an aerospace company as an operations manager. I think after searching deep within to decide where I wanted to spend my second career, I thought operations was a good general route into business. So I joined the aerospace company as operations manager. I did that job for about 6 months and was fortunate enough to be promoted to head of operations. 18 months down the line, I then moved to be a general manager of a more specialised engineering company, where I kind of had full responsibility for all of the operations there. I was then approached by Phenna Group with a view to me joining Simtech Materials Testing. I think my civilian journey so far has been supported by going down the operations path. My perspective, operations uses the skills developed in the military, such as leadership, management, discipline, problem solving. And operations in particular offers an insight into all areas of a civilian business: finance, sales, health and safety. It's the full lot. Today, myself, Don and Sam are representing the Phenna Group, which is a family of specialist testing, inspection, certification and compliance businesses, which is TIC for short. And when you hear TIC, think quality and safety assurance for the built environment, making sure materials, structures and infrastructure meet the right standards. I'll introduce the team shortly, and then we'll play a short message from our group CEO, and then we'll walk through the kind of work we do, where we operate. Sam will touch on pathways, training, some HR points, and how to frame your experience at interview. So again, I'm the Managing Director of Simtech, and I'm joined by my fellow speakers, Don Strang, who is the Head of Compliance at Simtech, and Sam Brown, who is the Lead Talent Partner for Phenna Group. And before we dive into some of the detail, firstly, a quick thank you to those of you who have served. At Phenna, we genuinely value the leadership, safety culture, planning and team discipline that you bring. And hopefully you'll see through this presentation how that directly maps to what we do. With that, we'll start with a short video from our group CEO, Phil Marshall, to set the scene.
Hi, a warm welcome to everyone from BuildForce who's watching this introduction. I'm Phil Marshall, Group CEO of Phenna Group, and I want to give you a quick overview of the industry, the TIC industry, testing, inspection, certification and compliance, and then I'll walk you through high level of Phenna and why this presents a wonderful opportunity for you and a potential career within the industry. The TIC sector, testing, inspection, certification and compliance, encompasses really everything, whether you're testing an aircraft engine part, an oil and gas pipeline, a pharmaceutical product, a car door, a building window. It goes on and on. Anything that you can contemplate testing or certifying or inspecting or adhering to it from a compliance standpoint pretty much is covered within the industry. It's a global industry. We're covered across the sectors you see on this page: built environment, infrastructure, industrials, compliance and certification, food and life sciences. Today, we have 80 plus businesses around the world. Around 60% of our businesses are in the UK and Ireland, so the concentration of opportunity exists within the UK and Ireland. And today, we have about 8,000 plus colleagues around the world. People we look for. Well, I think first of all is the values, the shared values, customer centricity. We're here obviously to serve our customers and provide them the quality of service every single day that they want to do business with us, and that loyalty stays there between the two of us. Autonomy and accountability, ambition and drive, work ethic and spirit, and equality, and the shared values that we have, the decency, treating people with respect throughout the organization. The Armed Forces, why you present such a great opportunity to us to have you as part of the team. You obviously bring leadership, discipline, and operational excellence, which applies across all our businesses. What does good look like at Phenna? Well, obviously people who share our values, the ones I've just mentioned, people who want to grow. They see the Phenna as an opportunity, not just for a job, but for a career. Again, as I mentioned, the scale we are now with 80 plus businesses, 60% in the UK and Ireland, 8,000 plus colleagues. We're run rating above 650 million of revenue. We're a really scaled business where there's a group wide set of opportunities for you and your career inside our company. A mentality to solve problems. So not just repetitive nature and coming into work, but really looking to solve problems, looking to add value, create solutions for our customers and working as part of a team in doing so. And obviously ultimately making a difference, not just for our customers, but for the teams, obviously for the wider group, and also obviously for yourself, building something for yourself, something that you can be proud of. And obviously you can share that with your team, but also with your family back home. And then finally, why are we different? Why is this something that you should consider? First of all, I'd say, we're a family, not just of businesses. We have a group set of businesses that interact within the divisions, the ones I mentioned, like built environment and infrastructure, but also collaboratively across the group. I mean, our culture is one of informality and one of sort of openness and transparency. And we like that connectivity and that friendliness across the group. So we regard ourselves as sort of a family. And I think in terms of diversity, we have a broad set of cultures, but sitting under that umbrella of shared values. We have internal mobility, as I mentioned. We're a large organization now, 650 million plus in revenue, 80 plus businesses globally, 60% of which is in the UK, 8,000 plus employees. So there's opportunities across a broad range of sectors, but also in terms of job specialism. The core skills that I mentioned resonate across the opportunities, but again, there's plenty across, whether it's engineering, whether it's procurement, whether it's operational excellence, there's opportunities across the group. Local teams, our businesses run largely autonomously with a lot of independence, but collectively leveraging the group resources and the teams across the group. So you've got the benefit of having independence and running the show locally, but benefiting from the group and the set of resources that we bring. And then finally, whether you take an opportunity with us, whether you find it interesting or not, I'd like to thank BuildForce and the relationship and the partnership we have. I mean, we're certainly an advocate. We certainly have examples, many examples where we've had great professionals coming out the armed forces into Phenna, and we'd love you to be another one of those great examples. But regardless, thank you for you all. Thank you for your service, and thank you for considering the opportunity with Phenna Group. And hopefully you enjoy the rest of the interactions with our team. Thank you.
Three quick takeaways from Phil's message. First is purpose and impact. Our work underpins safety and quality, which is exactly the mindset that many of you live by. How you fit. Military experience brings leadership, procedural discipline, and operational excellence, which is a direct match for TIC roles in the lab, on site, and in operations and management. And then thirdly, progression. We prioritise structured training, clear standards, so there are genuine pathways from entry-level technician and survey roles through to supervisory and leadership roles. So again, within Phenna, there's multiple divisions. Simtech, who's the business I represent, sit within the infrastructure division. And on this slide, you can see the size of our infrastructure division within Phenna Group, roughly £140 million turnover, 1,500 people across 17 companies, working from 26 accredited laboratories, more than 2 million tests carried out each year. For example, we take 40,000 core samples in a year. We survey around 208,000 kilometres of road annually and support over 20,000 clients. Why does this matter? Well, there's three sort of main reasons there. First, it's choice and mobility. With our footprint, you're not limited to one narrow job or one location. There are field roles, lab roles, data and reporting roles, scheduling, operations roles, and leadership paths across multiple companies in the group. Secondly, precision with consequences. Our results are used to open motorways, to sign off structures and release multi-million-pound works. That's why we run calibrated equipment, repeatable methods, and independent UCAS accreditation. It's not about bureaucracy, it's how we keep people safe, keep programs moving, and stand up to strict scrutiny. And thirdly, progression that's real. Scale, the scale of Phenna allows formal training, mentoring and stepping stones. And we see that quite regularly with our team. So for example, you may start as a site technician, move into a lead technician role, and then progress up to supervisor or operations planner. Lab technicians progress into senior technician roles and into quality and technical management. We do see across Phenna veterans moving quickly, primarily because of the behaviours, so team discipline, risk awareness, and mission focus, and those skills are already there. So I'll give you a quick brief overview of how a typical flow works within one of our businesses. So a client will contact us and needs to know what's really happening in a road or a structure or with a material. We mobilise a team of skilled technicians to collect samples, take measurements and conduct on-site testing. Samples are then brought back to one of our laboratories to conduct further tests and verify on-site results. And then technicians and reporting analysts compile clear reports which allow the client to make a safe, compliant decision. At each step, there are roles you can grow into, from hands-on field work to quality control, and then of course into leadership roles. The takeaway from this slide is quite simple. Scale, precision and variety equals a real career pathway. And in the next slides, we'll look at in a bit more detail at the actual work packages, what we do on road structures and sites, so you can hopefully map your skills to entry points that make sense for you. So we'll start with linear infrastructure, which is the next slide. So horizontal infrastructure is the work on roads, rail and buried utilities. We go there to find the facts, to test properly and to give a clear answer so work can move on safely. If it's our concrete and aggregates team on site, they'll take fresh concrete samples, they'll check slumps and temperatures, they'll cast cubes and then label them up ready for the lab, where they'll go for strength testing and other tests. The outcome from this testing is quite simple. Can the contractors proceed on programme, yes or no? Can you go back a slide, please? No. If it's our soils team, they'll take cores or bulk samples and conduct on-site testing, such as nuclear density testing, CBRs or LWDs, which are just acronyms for the types of tests that we do. In the lab, we run tests such as moistures, CBRs, particle size distribution and plasticity limits. In plain English, what we're trying to understand is, can the ground carry the load, or does it need treatment such as stabilisation or further testing? We have environmental chemistry teams that check groundwater or soil samples, which require a clean and controlled technique, robust chain of custody and correct methodology. Results confirm if works can continue as planned or if mitigation is needed by the client. We also do site investigation, which covers trial pits and borehole logging and further in situ testing. We coordinate with clients, traffic management, utilities providers. It's routine work, but the routine really matters. We create a clear plan, we attain permits, we decide on methodology, and we ensure we produce a high standard of records. When structural testing, we scan for reinforcement, we do cover checks and continuity, or pull-off tests, hammer tests, simple non-destructive testing, and we also occasionally take samples. So how do veterans fit within that kind of role? You know, veterans are used to briefings, procedures, looking after kit and equipment, clear handovers. You'll have experience working on multiple projects and the ability to communicate up and down the chain, and all of that stuff's essential. So next slide, we'll narrow in a bit more on pavement testing, which is a key part of what Simtech offers. So pavement testing, this slide's about how we understand road condition. So we collect the right data, we turn it into clear answers and help clients plan safe, cost-effective works. Visual and footway surveys are about getting trained eyes on the network. We record cracks and rutting, potholes, joint issues, footway defects. It's a very structured process, taking detailed notes and photographs, and this gives a quick health check across a large area of the road network. We do friction, skid resistance testing. Both tell us effectively how grippy the surface is, especially in wet conditions. If numbers drop below a certain level, the client schedules treatment before it becomes a safety issue. We also conduct deflection testing using different variants of weight deflectometers to measure how the pavement bends under load. You can think of it as how much give there is in a layer of the road. We also do asset inventory, which is logging the physical assets, gullies, curbs, signs, barriers, lighting. That helps clients manage what they own and then budget properly. Sometimes we need to see the layers, so we'll go out on site, technician team will mobilise and we'll cut a core, we'll measure thicknesses, check materials, and then send samples back to the lab for further testing. And that testing validates what our instruments have told us and reduces guesswork in design. And then most of this feeds into UK PMS, which is the UK's pavement management framework. Councils and contractors then prioritise spend on what to fix, when, and to what standard. Next, we'll look at some of the housing and commercial work we do on the next slide. So housing and commercial, this section shifts from horizontal work to vertical infrastructure, looking at new builds, refurbs, estates and facilities, where we use the same set of core skills but in a different setting. So we cover materials testing, again on concrete, aggregates and soils, environmental sampling, site investigations, structural testing and building pathology, plus foundations, geotechnical, even ecology on some jobs. Under materials testing, we conduct a range of on-site and lab tests, such as sampling fresh concrete for slabs, columns or walls of buildings. We do pile integrity testing to ensure consistency within concrete piles. We're checking grading and quality of soils and aggregates for subbases and backfill. And we conduct in excess of 100 lab tests, looking at moisture, compaction, particle size, California bearing ratio, and many more. The aim of this, in its most basic sense, is to discover whether the platform is good to build on, or do we treat it or replace it. We do site investigations such as trial pits, small boreholes, utility clearance, and in situ testing. We coordinate with the site management and other trades. Using our expertise, we can confirm design parameters for future construction. We also do structural testing and building pathology, and this is sort of the why is this failing work. So we scan for reinforcement and cover, we check carbonation, and sometimes chlorides on older concrete, and conduct simple non-destructive tests to assess condition. The aim is a clear cause and a practical fix. It's not a 50-page mystery, it's practical advice. We also do foundations, geotechnical and ecology where relevant, logging soils, sampling for lab tests, noting groundwater, photographing finds, and then occasionally ecology constraints change how and when we work. So we follow the plan, we record it properly, and we keep the day moving. Next, we'll look at some of our UK locations. So as you can see, we have many locations across the UK and Ireland. So there's almost always a role or a team that fits, either within our infrastructure division or elsewhere in the wider Phenna group. Next slide, please. So armed forces fit. So this slide effectively answers two questions: which skills transfer and where they land in the TIC world. So what skills are transferable? So planning, looking at daily, weekly schedules, resource loading, shift plans if you're in a supervisory or management role. Risk and safety leadership, So risk assessments and method statements, permits, stop and go calls, incident command, standards and inspection. So UCAS, our accrediting body, so looking at UCAS methods, doing internal audits, document control, communication and briefings. So that can be from toolbox talks, starter shift briefs, end of day reviews, or customer feedback. Logistics and asset care. Being a service-based business, we have large fleets to maintain. We have a lot of kit to calibrate, to keep ready, spares, repairs. It's a big beast. Operating picture. So we're looking at live dashboards. We're looking at utilization rate across our team. We're looking at turnaround times, which is very key in our industry. You know, sometimes customers are waiting on results to carry on with work. Of course, people leadership. So coaching, competence matrices, fair taskings, welfare. An after-action mindset, looking at root causes, learning loops, and how we improve. And of course, with any business, stakeholder handling. So clients, contractors, regulators, auditors, all those skills transfer really well. So how do you fit in the TIC industry? I'm looking at this more as a leadership level. So I thought we'd look at two common roles for ex-services, one being myself and one being my other speaker, Don. So operations manager within our industry, certainly within my business, the operations manager owns the plan. It's about putting the right technicians, the right vans and the right kit on the right jobs. It's about watching delivery to make sure we deliver on time and in full. It's managing utilization. It's lab field throughput, turnaround times. Operations managers run our daily stand-up meetings, focused around clearing blockers, replanning when something slips, keeping safety tight, making sure RAMs are signed, there's permits in place, supervision's visible. The operations manager communicates heavily with clients around progress, project risks, and changes, ETA of results, and of course drive continuous improvement with simple standards and clean handovers. Another key role is compliance manager. The compliance manager owns the quality system, keeps methods, forms, records, keeps them current and controlled. The compliance manager plans the audit calendar, both internal audits and UCAS, closes findings with real fixes, oversees the calibration of all of our equipment, proficiency testing, document control, non-conformance reviews, oversees training and signing off of competence, keeps the lab and field teams audit ready, and tracks key metrics, right first time, non-conformance rate, calibration on time, and then of course audit findings. And next, I thought it'd be useful to break down sort of a sample day in the role. When I left the military, it was something I wanted to better understand. You know, I knew what a sergeant did all day. I didn't really know what an operations manager did all day, and it was quite daunting going into that role with no real knowledge of what the expectations were. So I thought I'd break down two roles, operations manager and compliance manager, and what a day looks like. So first, the operations manager, first thing in the morning, they'll review the day's jobs. They'll make sure the right people are in. They'll go through sicknesses and challenges like that. They'll make sure that the right vans and kit are out. They'll check the lab capacity, the weather, construction, certainly testing is very weather dependent. They'll check on time in full delivery to customers. They'll make sure that we're hitting our turnaround times, make sure all the permits are in place if we require them. They'll make sure suitable health and safety around lane closures, and just generally understand the picture of the day. That's kind of the first thing in the morning. Then they'll run a short stand-up meeting. That might include one of our planners, lead technicians from lab and field, supervisors, or site managers. They'll confirm that health and safety, firstly, is all in place. They'll make sure we've got suitable access to site, all of our kit is ready, and then any late changes can be addressed at those meetings. And then they also set our daily priorities. It's a short 15-minute meeting. And then client check-ins for early jobs, make sure the guys are on site, access is all confirmed, traffic management's on time, and all the sort of ETAs around results are agreed. At 10:30, they might go for a short walk through the site or lab, checking paperwork, housekeeping, remove any challenges or blockers for the day, thank a team member for a win. Midday is usually around sort of a replanning window. So a job might slip, it might be weather dependent, might be traffic dependent, might need to move a team, swap some kit around, split some shifts, and then update the client before we're actually late on our work. After lunch, you might do a bit of a WIP review, make sure lab tests are flowing through the labs efficiently, check for missing chain of custodies, start drafting reports, ensure any issues are raised in the morning are closed out. 3:30, maybe a customer or a project meeting to discuss a new opportunity alongside the sales team or the senior management team. At 4 o'clock, they'll help the site team with scheduling tomorrow's work and removing challenges and making sure it's all loaded properly into our system. And then at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, they'll lock in tomorrow's schedule and then oversee the on-call handover if we're going from a day shift to a night shift or an evening shift. Throughout the day, there may be certain decision sort of triggers, if you like, that require a reaction. So if, for example, our delivery is at risk on 1 or 2 jobs, the ops manager may resequence and inform the clients. If our turnaround on testing is slipping and say it's outside of our normal, you may well add in an overtime shift or change some shift resources around. If we discover that calibration is due on a piece of kit, she may swap kits, get some technicians to trade kit between themselves, quarantine it if needed, and then organise with the compliance manager for the calibration. And then, of course, throughout the day and throughout the year, weather and traffic impact. So pull forward lab work if we can, push non-critical field work, and basically do whatever we can to keep the customer moving. A day in the role of the compliance manager is very different, but obviously part of the same sort of overall management team. So a normal day may start the morning with some quality inbox checks, looking at LIMS exceptions, which is our sort of lab management system. Look at expiring calibrations, any open non-conformance reviews, any document change requests that have come through. This might be followed by some document control if there's a change request, approving or updating one method or one form, and then publishing and briefing the changes to the relevant team members. At 10 o'clock, they may well have an equipment review meeting with the lab or field, create some plans and assign some actions around equipment. This might be followed by an internal audit as per the audit plan, observing, sampling a couple of tests, and then obviously recording the evidence and providing feedback. 11:30, let's say they've got a risk and opportunity meeting. Now we're looking at the top 3 issues facing the business or department or a certain project. To identify who the owner is, what the root cause of any issues might be, set some due dates, and then close out all the actions. They may well then go on a site visit with key customers to discuss site health and safety or some quality issues. And then maybe back at the office, looking at some client UCAS queries, responding with evidence, raising non-conformances proactively if needed. 4 o'clock, similar to the ops manager, might do a KPI check, look at right first time, review any NCRs and publish a 1-pager to the team to see where we are. And then end of day, 5 o'clock, update the audit plan for the day and then prep for tomorrow. I think it's also good to understand what sort of good looks like in the first 90 days. I've found guilty in the past of trying to change the world in the first few weeks. But yeah, what does good look like in the first 90 days? So for me, first sort of 3 or 4 weeks, about learning the flow, learning the business, understanding what the KPIs are, what the risks to the business are. So once you've understood that, move forward for a couple of weeks, maybe weeks 4 to 6, focusing on the top 3 bottlenecks or challenges within the business and understanding what they are. And then week 7 to 12, start locking in a bit of a cadence. So your daily stand-up reviews, your weekly ops reviews, your monthly quality reviews. Start to publish a clean dashboard and become familiar with all the numbers and metrics around a business. And then start looking to begin to hit targets, delivery targets, right first time targets, root cause analysis, closeouts, things like that. But the bottom line across certainly roles within Simtech and within the Phenna infrastructure division and within CTS, if you've managed teams and plans and standards under pressure, then you can lead in an operations or compliance role within TIC. And I think it's a great opportunity for people leaving the military. We have a number of ex-military people working with our business. We have a mentorship program internally. And say the more military guys we get into our business, the more experience that brings, and it's really helping us progress as a business. Next slide, please, Natalie. So I'll now hand over to Don Strang, our Head of Compliance. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon all. As Warwick has said, my name's Don Strang, and I'm the head of compliance at Simtech Materials Testing. So, a bit about myself. My testimonials are up there for you all to read with all the bits and pieces, but a quick overview of that. I was an RQ at the end of my career in the Royal Engineers. Before that, I was a CMT, not combat med tech, but construction materials technician in the RE, testing soils and doing compliance testing on materials in the UK and across the world. I've been out for about 4 years now, and one of the things that we always talked about during that time when you're leaving the military is we always talk about these transferable skills that you have. These being problem solving, planning, getting stuff sorted, the discipline, the teamwork. But one of the big things I've noticed is we're able to maintain composure under pressure. And that's really good in the civilian industry. A lot of people catastrophize situations which we will find a little bit less taxing to us, or we have different solutions. As I've already said, the reason I went into the construction industry, because I was an RE, it was a natural fit for myself. It was somewhere I knew I thought, I'd feel comfortable there. It's people on the ground sorting things out, making sure things fit. I originally, similar to Warwick, I got out and I was originally in operations when I got out with Simtech. But what I did is, while I've been working at Simtech, I've moved onto the compliance side as my skill set fits better in there. That said, since I've been out of the military, there have been some challenges that I've found. One of the main ones is working Friday afternoons. But the other, I found dealing with civilian staff, the culture, expectations, pace can be very different to a military environment that you're used to. A good way of describing it, we have lots of peaks and troughs in the military where the pace of what we're doing rises and falls, where in the civilian sector it's more of a constant tempo and it's slightly higher than what you would expect, and that's something that you need to be aware of. However, those challenges I've faced have pushed me to adapt my leadership style and refine communication skills, and others. Just shouting and bawling at people doesn't always work as it used to. But these experiences have helped me grow and ultimately strengthen my ability and build effective teams and deliver on projects and assist with projects getting delivered successfully. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, all. So my name's Sam Brown, and I'm the lead talent partner for a company called Solutions Driven. At Solutions Driven, we help companies across the STEM industries to make the right hire at the first time of asking. And currently my role is I lead on the embedded partnership project that we have with Phenna. And I manage a team of 6 recruiters that are focused on delivering fast and efficient and scalable recruitment solutions across the whole of the Phenna group, obviously including the infrastructure division. So our approach with Phenna, it's built on partnership, integrity, and most importantly, results. Values that I know are closely aligned with the ethos of the armed forces. And I'm really here today just to share some sort of insights on transitioning into civilian careers, and to explore how your unique skills and experiences in the military can make a real commercial impact in the world of work. So starting with the benefits and culture of working or with a group like the Phenna Group. So there is a good level of career progression. So it's not just a job, but a second career for when you're transitioning out of the military. And, you know, Warwick and Donna, good examples of ex-military that come in and can build a career outside of the military. The typical benefits you'd get by working in civilian roles, so paid vacation and sick leave, locations UK wide to suit where you're sort of based or want to be based, the opportunities to specialize and deepen leadership skills, especially the Phenna Group. It's a really collaborative working environment. You'll get pension schemes as part of your benefits package, mentor and mentoree opportunities. And once you're in with a group like the Phenna Group, the further opportunities are pretty much down to you and how hard you work, and you know you can open up further opportunities across the whole group. In terms of earning potentials, so we have a number of roles, but the ones that we sort of think are the key roles for ex-military, site technicians. So you'd be looking at salaries starting at 24 to 30k, dependent on sort of location and previous experience, with the potential to increase these earnings through overtime on weekdays, weekends, nights, that sort of thing. We find health and safety roles are really good for ex-military, and typical salaries for these range starting from sort of 35 up to 50k. And then, as Warwick mentioned, operations is another sort of big area, and these salaries typically range from sort of 40 to 55,000. So we support the employment of services spouses as well and partners, and that's with both flexible working and remote working. We know that everybody's family lives are different, and Phenna are really proud to offer that flexible way of working. It really makes a big difference whether it's dropping your kids off at nursery, picking them up, just being around to help out your wives and your kids a little bit more. It's something that I really value as well, being able to help my wife and you know, just drop my son off at nursery, pick him up, that sort of thing. Phenna Group, so we're establishing an armed forces network and mentoring for employees. This initiative is designed to provide fellowship for our employees who've experienced military life, and really we want to offer them a supportive community within the workplace. And again, when you join the Phenna Group, you'll have maternity, paternity leave options, and also a pension option as well. So one of the big things is transitioning into civilian life is getting to an interview stage and how to shine in an interview, really. So what I've done is put together sort of 5 key questions that, you know, I would say you should be asking at interviews, which will help you to stand out. So the first one is, how is success measured in this role, and what would you expect me to achieve in my first 6 months? This is a good one because it shows accountability, it shows a results-driven mindset, all things that are favourable within the Phenna Group. Another one is, how do you see this role developing within the company over the next few years? This shows the hiring manager that you're thinking long term, and you're not just using this job as a stepping stone into civilian life, and you're thinking about how you can really develop your career within the Phenna Group. What qualities and skills do successful employees here tend to have? What this does is it gives you the chance to hear what qualities that the employer you're interviewing with is looking for, and it gives you a chance to highlight relevant strengths that you've picked up from your time within the military. Another big one is, what is the organizational culture like, especially around teamwork and innovation? This gives you an opportunity again to relate your experience in working with and also leading diverse teams throughout your military career. And finally, what are the biggest challenges currently facing your team, and how could somebody in the position you're interviewing for help solve them? Again, this just demonstrates that you're already sort of thinking one step ahead. You're into solving problems. You're trying to, you know, see what problems there are before you've even potentially got the role. So on the other side, tips for answering questions, which I think can always be really useful. So definitely highlight your transferable skills, whether that be leadership, discipline, risk management, health and safety, if you're going for a health and safety role, anything that's relevant to the TIC role that you'll be interviewing for. Show curiosity about learning new industry protocols and adapting military discipline to civilian TIC frameworks. I think this is a very important one because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a new industry that you're stepping into. So showing that you're curious about learning how that industry works is, again, really, really good. Demonstrate a collaborative, solutions-focused attitude, showing that you're keen to help the organisation solve its pressing problems. Again, that relates back to kind of finding out through your questions what problems they've got and how you would sort of go about solving them. Using the STAR method is really big. So thinking of situation, the task, the action that you took, and the end result for behavioural interview questions. Again, anytime you can showcase real life success stories and relate it back to previous experience within the military always goes down really well. And again, always tie back your military experience to commercial impact. Now, what I mean by this is showing how the skills and achievements that you've picked up from your military service can create a value for an organisation in the civilian business world. So instead of just describing, what was done in the military, really think how you can connect those experiences directly to the relevant outcomes that a company cares about. And, partnering with a good recruitment team, they will always give you good interview prep in terms of what is the company culture, what is the outcomes, what is the growth, what are they looking to achieve. And anytime you can relate your military experience back to that, always goes down well at interview. I think back to you, Warwick.
Thanks for that, Sam. Yeah, so thanks very much for listening to our presentation. Some points of contact there. So myself and Don are both BuildForce mentors. If there's anything you'd like to speak to sort of privately to either of us, please take those email addresses down, and we'll endeavour to help you in any which way that we can. We're both very passionate about helping veterans get into meaningful second careers. We've kind of been there, got the t-shirts, so hopefully that'll be useful to you. And that is all for our presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Honestly, Warwick, that was brilliant. So I'll ask our speakers, cameras on, we'll just take the presentation down. If you do have any questions, please raise your hand. You're more than welcome to join us just to chat over any queries that you've got. I'll kick off just to warm up. So again, Warwick, your presentation was fantastic. Thank you for that. So just a couple of quick queries. So you mentioned that you left in 2021 operations manager in aerospace. So progression seemed to come quite quickly for you. So was that talent or potential that was recognised, or was the role a compromise to get the initial role a compromise to get your foot in the door?
No, I'll hold my hands up that I was quite lucky in my first role. I worked for a company called JJ Churchill. They were actually founded, I think it was pre-World War II, and they built some of the components for the first jet engine ever made. So they were actively looking to find somebody ex-military to parade around at their customer meetings. So I was quite fortunate that they sort of offered me that opportunity. One of the things that, Don touched on the difference between sort of military and civilian personnel. One of the key things that sort of stood me in good stead, and that me and Don look for now within our team, and I know that Phenna look for on a broader scale, is what's the standout differences. And I think the two that really jump out to me is discipline being the first. Military people are disciplined 5 minutes before and you're still late kind of behaviour that you get in the military. So there's that extreme discipline, which, and I don't mean that in a negative sense in terms of shouting at people that Don likes to do. I mean in a sense of being at the right place at the right time with the right set of morals and values. That's the first point. And the second point is resilience, something we talk about a lot. Military people get put through a whole world of pain that civilians don't probably understand and see. And whether that's your 14 weeks basic training that you do, whether that's exercises and being on a windy hill in Catterick, or whether that's operational deployment, away from family, away from friends. It could be a lonely sort of career, but it isn't, because you make such close friendships, and that it gives you such a level of resilience that civilians can't really compare to that. And then obviously having that resilience and that discipline, you naturally find people you draw to each other. Say me and Don are good friends now because we've got similar backgrounds. Obviously you can tell from his face, he did a lot longer than I did, but we've got very similar backgrounds. We are drawn to each other. We work well together, and that's something that Phenna's recognised, that success through military people. I also work and mentor a chap called Adam, who's an ex-RAF officer. He joined as an operations manager. I think within 18 months was head of operations. Another quick progression, but all of that is sort of rooted in his discipline and his resilience. I think that answers the question, Angela. I might have gone off on a resilience chat there.
No, it does very well. And we heard from Phil Marshall, your CEO, so please send him our thanks and appreciation for being such a strong advocate in this space. But he referenced those exceptional military skills of leadership and communication and the like. So as a veteran that's now in this space, what do you think your value really is? So not something that you would typically see on that list of military traits. What do you really think your superpower is?
I think it's twofold. Again, I don't want to rely on my buzzword of the week, which is resilience, but I think it's the natural ability of people in the military just to get stuff done. It's a skill that it's hard to quantify sometimes, and of course, civilians have that skill as well. But as a serving, someone that's done a couple of years, however long that might be, you've got stuff done in the desert, you've got stuff done in the dirt of Wales, you've got stuff done in camp, you've got stuff done with different teams. You've got a massive breadth of skills of getting stuff done, whatever that takes. Early starts, late finishes, not good enough kit, all of that kind of things, those challenges. And I don't think that civilians get exposed to the extremes of the challenges that the military face. So I think lean into that. Don't hide away from the fact that you may not have experience in business, in finance, whatever it might be. But as Sam said, when you're interviewing, lean into the skills that you've got, because they're incredibly hard to get. You can't put someone on a course. You can't give them that background. You have to go and earn it through completing a military career.
And how do you stop them sounding cliched? Is it just giving examples, real examples of what they are?
I think so. I think it's tying it, as Sam said really, really well, it's tying sort of military experience to commercial success, which is quite hard to do, quite hard to understand. But, if you've managed, for example, when I was in the military, we managed a new vehicle platform coming in. It was £60 million project. It had very, very tight deadlines, working with lots of different stakeholders. It is a commercial thing. It's just framed. I was just wearing green kit at the time. So it's about understanding how you have got the skills. You just don't know that you've got them. And then leaning into it. I've always been open when I first left the military that, my financial acumen isn't the best. I've lent into that. That's where I need to develop. Employers don't mind helping you to develop if they know where your weaknesses are. And I think sometimes just lean into it. Just admit who you are, that you're in an interview or you're having an opportunity because of your background. Just don't shy away from that. And
how easy or hard have you found that commercial financial awareness piece?
At times it's been challenging. I think I had very good advice when I was leaving the military. I focused my resettlement around financials, courses such as finance for non-financial managers, things like that give you an insight. I read books about finance and EBITDA and all the terms you never hear of in the military. It's not the most difficult concept. It's not that hard. Accountants can do it. So it's just about, understand it, take the time, read about it. Don's laughing now because he knows what I'm on about. Understand your weaknesses and work on them. But people are willing to give you that chance. I found it personally relatively easy, but it has tested my resilience quite a lot.
Come back to the skills. And you mentioned about the role of the compliance manager. Can I ask, do you think there's a character trait to that role, or are they skills that can be learned, do you think?
There's certainly skills that can be learned. There's certain days when I look at what Don's doing and I wouldn't want to learn them. But there's certainly skills that can be learned. But I think the main thing with it is, again, it's that ability to, here's a problem, here's a task, it needs to be completed, go and get it done. And people like Don, who's excelling really well at Simtech, has got that attitude of, this needs to be done, I'm going to find a way to get it done. And that's the only thing you really need.
And Don, just on that, a question to you. You obviously extra engineers, the material testing trade. Did you request that trade after basic training, or were you just placed in that space?
So it was something I chose.
Right.
At training, in the engineers we have a group of design sort of trades, and there's like a surveyor and a draftsman, and then there was this weird thing called construction materials technician, and it just sounded a little bit more interesting, so that's where I jumped in, and I did it for a period of time. But in the engineers, you swapped different roles all the way up, so I didn't do it for my entire career, but it was something I knew well enough to be able to transition across to into the civilian industry. And obviously what it was is when things happen around the corner in Birmingham, and somebody goes, "Oh, I've got an issue in Birmingham." My issues when I was managing my group of guys who were doing the same job was in Brunei or the Falkland Islands. And so it just being able to sort the problems out at that great distance when you're sorting them out at shorter distances. And this is where one of the traits where we don't get flustered by stuff as much. Which is really a real asset to us. And one of the other things that, Warwick's word of the week, resilience. I think one of the other ones I would say is we are consistent when we just stay consistent. You get what you see, sort of thing. We will tip up early, we will stay a bit late, we will get stuff done, and that's something that we do all the time, and we will just do it in, day out, and just keep that churn going. And and we are reliable at the end of the day, and I didn't realize how much that is a benefit to the civilian industry. Tipping up, being clean, being dressed, in the right gear, sort of thing. It's what employers want. They just want that all the time. One of the things but Warwick alluded to is we have skill sets which we don't even know about. We've got these list of things for transferable skills we talk about. One of the things I got thrown on me while I was serving was I had to sort out a thing called the RE Games, which was sorting out all the regiments coming to one place. It was basically a glorified sports day. But I had about 1,500 people descended on my camp, and I had to feed them, house them. They had to have their ablutions so we could wash and change, and then get them to the sports and sort the sports out and stuff like that. And I had to deliver this over a 3-day period. I'd never done anything like that before, but it happened, and it all went well, and it was a success at the end. There's just things that can do attitude that we have, which is, there are people in civilian street that have it, but it's something which is inbuilt to us, which we don't realise that we all have.
Yeah, and again, as a civilian, you always want that can-do person in your team, without a doubt. And when you were going through thank you for that, John, but when you were going through your transition, what was most important for you in your second career? Was it leading a team? Was it being able to add value, a role that you knew you could do?
One of the things I wanted to have completeness. So finishing a job, but in the military there was always a churn, and nothing ever got really completed to the end. It was a little bit different for me because I was in construction side of things, so I did see the finish of things. But seeing that completion and having a tick in the box, we drive around various roads in the UK as me and Warwick go to our different locations, and there's bits of road. Oh, we were on it the other week doing some testing. Yeah, it feels all right. So we actually see the work physical work that we
Yeah.
do. You know, we see things growing like HS2. These are projects which we're involved with. We see it happening around us. So that completion and getting that sense of, yeah, well, I've done that. And it's almost like in a lot of the stuff in construction is under the radar. People don't consider the amount of effort which goes into building a new bypass or putting in HS2, etc., and other buildings, whether they be vertical or horizontal.
And obviously, we don't have favourites here at BuildForce, but the Royal Engineers, for the employers that are listening to this, is that a really good foundation for anybody wanting to come into the construction engineering and wider built environment? I mean, how construction is the Royal Engineers? Is it like for like? Is it?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things we built was Camp Bastion.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We Camp Bastion, when I was coming up to the end, and I was part of some of the drawdown stuff on that as well. It was the size of Reading. So to put it into context, we built this city in much. It was tented city at that, but we did have some more permanent structures there. You know, from a runway, we provided the water there. We had sanitation there. Yeah, and we do that all around the world. I oversaw or helped construction projects in Falkland Islands, in Ascension, in Cyprus. You know, all that, and the things that our VRE community can bring to civilian industries, it's really, really big and really helpful.
So again, so the army does do real construction, and sometimes they even do it better, is the point. So we can edit this question out if you don't want to answer it, but your biggest frustration over in the civilian side, what are you finding?
The one I've struggled with is dealing with civilian staff, but that's part of my trade. That's why I'm in compliance, because my view is a little bit more black and white on things.
Right.
And it's a big grey space. HR when dealing with people is not my strong point. That's why Warwick gets somebody else to do it. But I'm more than happy that, you know, we all have our you know, we all have our strong points for stuff we're not so good at. And that's one of the things that I struggle with. And Friday afternoons, Warwick.
It's not changing, mate.
That was one of the things.
Your last one to leave on a Friday, is that right?
Yeah, sometimes, more than likely. So, but yeah, it's those sort of bits. The tempo, like I mentioned earlier, that tempo of in the military was like 100 miles an hour, full stop, 100 miles an hour, full stop, and it was very much like that. As where when you're in a commercial setting, you are running at this 80-85% level all the time, and then you have to take it up and then back down to that bit, and it's always drawing that up and down, that up and down. We find that a lot, but once you've got that tempo going, our consistency is a benefit there.
And if you had any expectations, has this lived up to it? Is it slightly easier or worse than you thought, the full transition and landing here?
I think it was just different. Right. It's different than I expected. You know, it's the easiest way to put it. Every sort of business is ran slightly different. So Warwick's been in several different companies since he's left. I've only been at one, but my one has changed significantly with various. It's been bought out. We've gone through redundancies, and we've gone through all these things which are like, these are all new stuff, but let's just get on with it, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and then just a final question on those service leavers that may be crossing your desk or crossing your path. Is there anything you just wish you could say to them? Whether it's quality of CV, whether it's their approach, whether it's not doing their homework. If there's any just little golden nugget of advice that you could give those watching, what would it be?
One of the things is I would lean back on the safety aspects of the things we did in the military.
Right.
We worked in a very, very high risk environment, and we had to make some very, very big decisions at some points in our career. And the civilian population don't have that under their belt, we are really, really useful, and you are better than you think you are. I've struggled with this. I had a bit of an imposter syndrome when I first got out, going like, I can't do this. This is a bit of a cuff. But no, you just got to believe in yourself, and you work with your attributes you've got.
Right. Okay. No, thank you. Listen, thank you so much for that, John. Just one or two quick questions to Sam, if you're there. You said on you work for Solutions Drive, it's about making the right hire. And just to confirm, STEM is this science, engineering, technology, and mathematics space that you're focused in. On the salary ranges that you mentioned, the limit of the maximum, the upper level, is that a grade range that you work within, or is that really the highest that those salaries go?
Yeah, it's typically a grade range that we work to, and it'll be set different levels within different companies in the group, depending on location and the actual type of experience that they're looking for. So it typically comes with different ranges on those roles.
Okay, and again, just playing back to what Warwick and John said about key traits, just focus on the importance and the thread of safety through your military career. It's critical to us in the civilian space, so don't overlook it, and the can-do attitude, or being last man standing, just how important that is. Anything else to that, or any other frustrations or bad habits that you're seeing coming through?
I link it back to what sort of Warwick said when he led the operation, and it was, in charge of a £60 million budget. He said it's highlighting that on your CV. I think sometimes we see CVs come in where it says, led an operation here, but it doesn't go into too much detail, so you wouldn't actually know the ins and outs of what was involved in that operation. And sometimes when you're receiving, hundreds of CVs for a role, if you're not seeing the information you're looking for, it sometimes does get overlooked. So I think really highlighting the parts of, if it's a health and safety role, highlighting some of the serious incidents you were involved in, or how you went around managing the site, and just making it visible on your CV so that it makes the recruiter stop and actually read into those points, and then they can give you a call and get some more detail from you.
Right. Okay. And for those that are listening, we often get this question of how early or late should you engage with an employer? When would you like to see a service leaver CV?
I think as soon as you're thinking about making a leave, to be honest with you, especially with a group the size of Phenna, they're always hiring. They're also very seasonal businesses, especially within sort of infrastructure on the testing side of things. So if we can start having conversations with you, and you say that you'll be ready at June 2026, then we can store you in our database to say, right, in June 2026, when we're looking for material site technicians in Birmingham, we already know that you're sort of interested and ready to be spoken to. So really there is no too early, because we have all the systems in place, we have all the databases in place where we can keep your details on file and start building those relationships so that we're ready to kind of get you involved when the time's right for you.
Okay, and John and Warwick have done a brilliant job, especially in the kind of compliance and operations roles. And I think even Caroline and I, there was dozens upon dozens of candidate names that were coming to mind that would be perfect for this. So what would the next step be? Is it just raise your interest with Caroline and she'll liaise? What's the best way to take it forward?
Yeah, so a couple really. So obviously we work with Caroline. So when we get vacancies that we particularly think forces candidates that would be good for, then I'll reach out to her and say we're looking for X, Y, and Z in this location, who's on the database. So definitely having your CV with BuildForce is a good start. We've also got the recruitment at Phenna Group inbox as well, where the CVs come directly to us as well, that can be stored on our database. So, put your eggs in all baskets and get your CV across as many people as possible, is what I'd say.
Right, okay. And listen, I think the slides that you brought up were absolutely fantastic. Thank you for being so helpful, just with those questions and interview and that guidance. So we'll be referring an awful lot of the candidates to that because it was particularly well done. But listen, a big thank you to Warwick Nuttall, Don Strang, Sam Brown, and a thanks to Phil Marshall, your CEO, and to the military community watching. Phenna Group, an exceptional ambassador and champion of the armed forces, and they displayed incredible career options here today. Remember, you're not alone. BuildForce are here to help and support you as you go through your transition. Please get in touch if you have any questions and we'll help it take it further. CVs and comments to BuildForce and we'll connect you further with Sam and the team. And I'll pass back to Caroline for some final insights.
Thanks, Angela. I'd just like to say a shout out to all other ranks, but it's not just Royal Engineers. We are here for the Royal Navy, the Marines and the RAF. Every rank welcome. And just on that, we've had some fantastic success with a couple of chaps with Simtech and they weren't Royal Engineers. So just a shout out to everyone. So we have coming up, are you all booked in? I know a lot of you are. We have our fantastic National Armed Forces Insight Day next Wednesday the 1st of October in Manchester, hosted by Strabag, but attended by 50 odd of our employers from across the whole built environment, including the chaps here, consultancy, house building, contractors, engineering, infrastructure, everything is there. There's a flavour for everyone. So even if you're just looking about the next chapter or you're looking for a job, please do join us. It is a fantastic event. The link is there in the chat box, or go to our website or email pa@buildforce.org.uk. But don't miss out. It is the industry event to attend. All right, now have a lovely day. The sun is shining. Get out there, get some vitamin D, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Warwick.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you,
That was
Dawn.
brilliant. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.